Welcome to another video, welcome to another additive synth video. Well, after having declared it, the little project finished, like most things, a few little extra tweaks. Let's move this a little bit. So there are a few bugs that I found after having put it up on GitHub as usual. And there's also, I had a little bit of spare space, and I thought what would be really cool is if we had some preset templates, I call it, for the more common things and the things that normally take a long time to do. So putting in your waveform, okay, you could put a sawtooth and a square, but they're really simple. And if basically you don't really want anything else, but what you can put in is in fact all the envelope. So a lot of people have their subtractive synths, they know how to use them, they do filter sweeps, low pass filters, etc. So I thought, why don't we just put a few of those in as defaults? And the other thing I fixed was the sequencer previously used to be able to press a button and go to the next logical set of 8. And I thought, well, that's a bit limiting. What if you had 3, 4, or 5, if you're a Dave Brubeck tribute band. So basically now what happens is when you define your sequence, you can actually put markers in. So you can define the first part, second part, etc. And each part will repeat. So I'll show you the new features. First of all, we'll start off with the sequencer. So we'll just make sure we turn him on. And waits a little bit. Wait for it to boot up. You can see it, and again, you're hearing what I hear, completely unfiltered, so you can even see the little ripple. That's a 33 kilohertz ripple. I can't hear it. I don't think it makes much noise. Okay, now we're unquantized. I also fixed the quantization. So for example, I can now do, so if you listen, long press, see it's gone down a quarter of a semitone. That's just so. And I am going to see if I can fix the analog to digital logarithmic function, but at the moment I'm not. The quantization works well. Anyway, so the first thing, let's do sequence. So what are we going to put? We'll put the sequence, we'll load up our clarinet-y type sound. Now we'll start the sequence. So same as before, you can press the phase button, because previously the phase only had 180 degrees. So we'll say phase, start a sequence. So we can do, that's the first part of the sequence. This button here says mark the next sequence. So and just so we can do a few different times. Okay, that can be the end of the sequence. So now when we start it, now of course we can make it go faster and slower and all the usual stuff, but that's just repeating the first part. Now if I press the button, it will go to the second sequence when the first one's finished. So second, and it'll now repeat the second one. Okay, third one, fourth one. This is the one that's not 8 or anything. Back to the first one. Anyway, okay, so we'll stop the sequencer. So that's the new sequencer. So you can now define 6 sequences. The first being obviously starting automatically on the first note, and total number of notes for all sequences added together is 48. Now, if you don't use sequences, you can actually steal those extra bytes, and you can have technically a 53 note sequence, a single sequence. But yeah, anyway, I don't know why anyone would ever want to do that, but that's all I could fit in the RAM. Now the next thing, this is another new feature. So what we can do is we can now have predefined, I'll call it filters, because I mean a lot of the times that's what you want to do. So what we'll do, we will reset. There's our sine wave. Still quantized. Now we'll do our trumpet. Trumpet's easy, and again, because the buttons are all set up properly, so the volume of 1 is 1, volume of 2 is 2, that's half, third, fourth, yeah, etc. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Okay, so that gives us, whoops, I think I missed number 4. Okay, a sawtooth-ish wave. Great. What can you do with that? Well, if you go, you can click any of the oscillator buttons. So we'll just do one. Go to attack, and instead of pressing the normal attack button, you hold it. So the first one is a plucky sound, but a long pluck. So it's an instant attack, and it decays slowly. But it's not just the volume decaying, it's also the filter. So if you look carefully at the FFT, you'll actually see it going down. So the high frequencies disappear first, and you can probably hear that wow, ow sort of sound. So that's a long pluck. We can also do a shorter pluck. Let's just play. Oh, wrong note there. So that's a shorter pluck, or we can do an even shorter one. Okay, so that's all automatic, and of course from that point onwards you can also adjust it manually, but it's just a little first effort. Now the second thing we can do is what I'd call the stereotypical low pass filter opening and closing. So we have long press. This is hopefully you recognize that one, because that's pretty much the one I use for all my fake instruments. Well, okay, they're real instruments, but the emulations of them. You know, put a tiny bit of reverb, so it's about halfway. Okay, turn the reverb off. So the second one, a bit longer. So not now realistic for an instrument. You can probably also hear the wow, wow sort of sound. You can hear the filter opening and close. Well, the pretend filter opening and closing. Okay, and an even longer one, almost a paddy one. Put a bit of reverb on. Anyway, so that is the pre-template filter design. So it just makes things really simple. So for example, you want to make yourself a flute. So we can do long press. So back to our default noise. So the flute is 1, 2 is at volume 4, 3 is at volume 6. I've done it once or twice. That's the sort of the fluty sound. Now what we're going to do is let's put our standard instrument. This is our standard attack decay. You may want a slightly slower. So again, a bit of, let's put it over here. Alright, you can do the same thing again if you want. So long press, we're back to our sine. So maybe we want to do a clarinet. So okay, ignore the fact that we've already got a clarinet. So we've got 1, we've got 3, that's a third, 5 at a fifth. There's our sort of square wave. Actually, I'll turn the reverb off. You want a clarinet sound, so that's our attack and decay opening and closing the pseudo filter. So 1, long press. Just saves you a bit of time because they're the most common ones that everyone does. But you can also do things like, let's just go to the long one. So or equally as interesting, or just maybe a bit slower. So again, lots of interesting sounds just from the word go. So you can put your own waveform in. So it's like dial up the waveform, and then you've got a choice of either a pluck or a standard like attack and decay. That'll get you a fair few interesting sounds, and it just means you don't have to spend all your day pressing in numbers. Apart from that, there's been a few little minor bug fixes, but nothing. I mean, nobody will really notice it unless they did something odd. I'm sure there are still some odd things here, but yeah. So actually, and the other thing, I haven't actually showed this before, but I'll just reset it. So there you are. So you want some vibrato. You know, most things you can put the slider up and down. So what we can do, let's first of all, actually, no. So we'll do, let's turn, now we're quantized, we don't want to be quantized, so what we can do is say, okay, just say that's a sort of a vibrato. Too slow, so we'll make it faster. Okay, so that's good, but now what we can do is go onto there, turn our pot, so basically we're using that. I mean, I know it's a pot, it's not as easy to use, but if you had your normal, on your synthesizer keyboard, you can go up and down. You can go to an extreme. But yeah, that's just another way to use it. When you're finished with it, remember, cancel the function. And now, the pot doesn't do anything. Yeah, that's hopefully a nice short one with the new features. Just a reminder that the source code is up on GitHub. As of this video going out, I haven't yet done it, but by the time I put the video up, I'll have updated the GitHub with all the latest software. Yet again, I saved a lot of memory. I've now clawed it back. We're now back to our 5,900 odd bytes, so we've pretty much used all of our memory again. There was one extra thing. I was going to do a wave shape template, but I ran out of memory. So I don't know where I can save more memory now. Hopefully somebody else can look at it and have some genius idea to save memory. They can put more features in, but at the moment, that's pretty much it. My little Spark has 6012 of the 8K that the 85 normally has. So maybe you could have a bit more if you didn't have the convenience of the USB loader. But anyway, waffling now. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. The latest features on the little tiny additive synth. It amazes me how much you can get out of such a tiny little CPU. 8-bit, homemade, and it doesn't sound too bad, if I do say so myself. Anyway, hopefully you got something out of that, and for anyone who is actually following the project and trying to make it, there's an update and you can now have the latest features. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.